Welcome to another episode of Successful Singers, and today we have Ben Bryant, and I would like to introduce everybody to Ben Bryant. Ben, will you please introduce yourself and tell everybody what you do and who you are, and go ahead.
Great, thanks, Corinne. Well, my name is Ben Bryant. I am a vocal director at Royal Caribbean Cruise Lines. I've taught many of their shows, but in the last few years, I've been focused on casting. So I'm the vocal director who travels around the world auditioning singers for Royal Caribbean's 26 ships and 150 shows that they have on board those ships. Before that, I was actually a performer as a young person. In college and right out of college, I did oratorio work at Carmel Bach Festival, Los Angeles Bach Festival, did Messiahs and many Bach pieces at the big churches in New York City, Trinity Wall Street and other places like that. But I also had a career on Broadway. The last show that I did there was The King and I, the revival in the 1990s. Yes, I'm that old. But I loved doing that. It was such a wonderful experience. And I ended up living in New York for 7 years during that time. And it was at that time actually that I became kind of a reluctant coach, and other singers would come to me and say, oh, I've got something for an audition. Can you help me get ready? Because I play piano and I can, help them with their notes. And ultimately, when I left New York and decided it was time, I just knew I didn't want to stay on the performing side of things. I went back to Los Angeles, where I had gone to college, and I started doing I had connections with studio singing. So I did a lot of that at that time. But ultimately that led me to Royal Caribbean vocal directing. It wasn't something I planned on, but here I am decades later, still doing that and loving it.
Love that. So I'm so excited to have you here. And I know that some of my singers, probably all of my singers, are going to be super excited to watch you. And I wanted to ask you, will you be willing to do a live Q&A at some point?
Yeah, absolutely.
I know that you're going to be a popular one because everybody's going to want to know, how do I get on a cruise ship? How do I do that? So when did you know that you wanted to pursue a career in music, and how did you get started in your vocal training?
Well, I sang as a little boy. I loved singing from the time I could speak. And so church and elementary school is where I started. I started taking piano lessons when I was 7. I sang in choirs starting probably when I was 6, both in school and in church. And so I was learning to read music and singing on my own. My first solo I ever did was at my grandparents' 50th wedding anniversary when I was 7. Then I also took up the trumpet a couple of years later and played that all through high school as well. So I got involved with music, with everything. Of all of those things, there was a period when I focused on that probably in my early teens, but voice was the thing that stood out most. I also did theater things, but I did know voice. There was something about singing for me that was very natural, and it was my favorite thing to do. And I don't think I thought about it in terms of a career so much when I was a little kid, but that was in the back of my mind, that's what I wanted to do with my life.